Boom. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Marketing Monday with Joel and Laurel. You guys are in for an amazing treat today because today we're going to, guess what? We're going to talk about ads. But specifically, we're going to talk about Laurel's 4A framework, which will give you guys a variety of different angles that you can start to speak towards your clients and your potential customers, because this stuff is really, really important. Because I think a lot of people really believe that you can just whip up an ad and it will reach everybody, and you're kind of praying for that one or two ads that you can just use to scale your campaigns. And unfortunately, that's just not the truth. So I'm excited to dive in today. Laurel, good to see you.
It's great to see you as well.
So we're going to talk about some of your methodologies today. We're going to talk about your 4A framework. And why don't you start by giving us a quick breakdown as to what that 4A framework is, and we'll dive right in.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you kind of just teed me right up there, because everyone thinks that if they put out, one or two ads and there's like an audience size of 2 million, that Facebook's going to automatically show it to the 2 million people, right? And we know that that's not going to actually happen. And if you have winning ads, this is going to give you a shortcut to be able to get more reach out of those angles that you're currently using. And so the way that my mentor explained it to me, and this is actually my mentor, Nick Peterson's framework that he taught to me, it is called the 4A framework. And basically what it says is that as humans, we consume content in 4 different ways. We consume content through an analytical lens, an actionable lens, an aspirational lens, and an anthropological lens. Now, that's a big word, right? And I'm going to explain that, because that is the big one. And honestly, I think that is where a lot of my highest quality clients come from. So a little teaser for there. But if we break down, most of you guys are running 2 of them, right? Most of you guys are doing how-to content when it comes to ads. And a lot of you guys are running case studies, testimonials. That's aspirational, right? So you're reaching about 50% of your total pool of people that you can be reaching. The other 2, analytical, that's going to be more of a numbers breakdown, but it could also mean some type of systematic breakdown too. Most people think analytical, they think numbers, but analytically is more system breakdown, right? So, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how this actually happens. And Joel, I would love some of your ideas to throw in here too, because I know that you probably have some fire to throw on this framework as well. And then we've got anthropological. Now, let me put it to you this way. Right. And this is why I think that my most sophisticated clients actually come from the content and ads that I'm putting out that have this lens. Anthropological has a lot to do with human psychology. It's kind of like the why, right? Most of my sophisticated clients, they know how to launch ads. They've seen all the testimonials. They understand the ad system. They understand every part of it. The thing that they struggle with is, Laurel, why can't I get my ads to convert for me? So whenever I am putting out the why type of content and explaining why most people who run ads never get results, and it's about them, it's not about the ads platform, it's more about the human, right? I tend to attract a higher sophisticated person because they're not looking to how to do it. They're not looking for testimonials and case studies. They already believe that it works. They've seen the numbers, but they're still wondering, why isn't it working for me? And so that is who comes into my higher ticket, are the people who they've tried everything and they're looking for, I just need another set of eyes. Why is this not working for me? And Joel, you and I talked about this a couple of episodes back, that so many people are targeting the people who are in pain instead of the people who are proactively trying to actually solve their problems. And I think that is why the anthropological angle, I know that's a huge word, but the why, I think that's why that angle works so well with attracting more sophisticated buyers. Mm-hmm. And so that is what my data tells me, right? And so whenever I think of like the 4 A's, this is how I break them down, and I'm open to talking about some ideas because I'm always learning something new every single day, is I kind of think about the actionable content as top of funnel content, right? Because the how to, like when you think about how Andromeda actually finds your ideal clients, it's matching a person with a problem that it knows that that person has, right? Based upon the copy that that person is scanning, whether it's with a text ad or whether it's with a video ad. I find that actionable content works really well for top of funnel, that analytical and aspirational works really well for middle of funnel, and then the anthropological it works better for bottom of funnel, because all of these people, they don't need the how, they don't need more case studies. That's not going to get them over the hump. It's the why that's going to get them over the hump.
Yep. Yeah. So the why is really important because at the end of the day, we are in the business of transformation. Everyone's in the business of transformation. Okay. And what I mean by that is transforming the way that people think, right? If we just stop and we only create content or we only create ads that focus on the pain, well, why are your ad costs going up? Why are people not buying your stuff, right? These people are, they're in that discovery phase of like, why is this stuff so hard? In order to get them to the conversion stage and to buy into your system or to buy into you as a thought leader or as a consultant or an advisor or whatever it is that you are selling, you ultimately have to get them to think differently. Because if you can show them that their problems are a symptom of their current way of thinking, and you can't get them out of that current way of thinking into your way of thinking, well, then, you're going to have a hard time converting people. So I like that breakdown and going to that bottom of funnel, which is the why. If I were to distill that and simplify that why is all about shifting their perspective of why their problems continue to exist and how your framework or how your way of thinking solves that. So I love that that linear approach, and ultimately, if I can impart any piece of wisdom or knowledge into what you were saying, Laurel, it's that at the end of the day, we have to get them to think through a new lens. Because when you can cause that shift for your audience to understand that they need to change their paradigm if they're going to get over this hump of what they are doing, that's where the why comes in. Why are you struggling with all this stuff? Well, it's because you're thinking of it wrong. Like you're looking through the wrong lens. If you look through this lens, things will start to look differently and you can solve your problem. So I love it. I think it's a really, really wise breakdown. And so let's kind of go through all four of those stages a little bit deeper.
Yep, absolutely. So actionable, right? This is kind of the one that everyone starts with, right? The how-to content, like how to close 20% more sales calls, how to get more webinar leads, right? Here's how we do it, right? And what I love about this angle though, and this is why I love using it for top of funnel, is it because it gives us an opportunity to do two things. Because our leads are looking for two things from us. In a world of AI, in a world where there's so much content that our clients and leads are having to sift through, they're looking for only two things: demonstrated expertise, and two, do you have a proven, repeatable framework? And how-to videos allow us to showcase those two things simultaneously in one video. And so that is why I love using more actionable type of content. And so that's why a lot of times I'll do stuff on my whiteboard or I'll do things on a drawing on a pad. This is another thing that I have found to help as well, because in a world where everyone is using AI ads, doing how-to videos in real time, like if I'm showing someone how to do something and I'm drawing on that whiteboard, it is really hard for AI to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. Right? It is really, really extremely hard. And so being able to do something in real time while both showcasing demonstrated expertise and that I have a proven, repeatable framework, it just lends itself really well to cold traffic, because those are that's going to be our largest piece of the audience that we're ever going to be able to reach, right? Is that cold traffic. It's going to be the biggest audience pocket. And it's kind of like, where you're mining for gold and you're kind of like sifting. The ad is like the sifting for gold, where all the gold stays in the basket and then all of the other leads kind of fall through. That's kind of the way that I look at that first tier. Is we want all of the people who will never going to buy from us to actually fall through. Now, once we've proven, right, that we have a proven repeatable process and that we've demonstrated expertise, you got to think in the way that your audience is thinking. Well, it's like, okay, cool, she's got that framework, but I want to see proof. There's two ways to show proof, right? We can show case study proof. Here's how other people have implemented this proven, repeatable process. And two, here are the numbers that prove it works: analytical and aspirational, right? And then once we've gotten those two tiers, again, we go sifting for gold, we go one down level. Okay, cool. I understand that other people are getting results. I've seen the stories, I've seen the numbers, but am I going to be able to get results? What's holding me back from getting those results?
So I want to jump in here because I would posit to say that there's actually a third piece of proof that works incredibly well, sometimes even more than case studies and numbers, and that is third-party proof or statistical proof. And here, I'll give an example of what that is. When I ran my most successful webinar for high-ticket courses, one of my key selling points was to show the dissension model through not just like telling them why it's so much better to start high ticket and scale down the funnel of like, then productizing later on. I showed Tesla as the example, right? Elon Musk launched Tesla not by launching his mass market car first at the lowest price. He started with the Roadster, which was like $130,000 car to start. And he launched that to get cash flow in the door. And what was amazing was he wrote a blog post that literally said everything that I talked about with the dissension model. He's like, I couldn't do a mass market first. I needed to get cash flow. That's why we started with the Roadster. So I used that as third-party demonstration proof from something totally irrelevant in my niche. Like, Elon's not selling info products. He was selling cars. And so I explained how, like, this is how smart people launch all of their businesses. This is how smart business owners do it. And so I know that hit well because when people would sign up for my course and I'd have an intake call with them, they would always regurgitate that. It's like, oh, I loved the Tesla model, right? So think about that as another form of proof. It's like, it doesn't have to come internally from just what have you done. It can come externally if it validates your model, if it validates your ideas. So just don't limit yourself to be like, oh, well, I don't have enough case studies or whatever. It's like, use third-party proof that support your ideas that you're trying to explain, and that'll get the more analytical people to come in and just get that aha moment. So I wanted to just throw that in there as well.
No, I love that, because one of the questions that I get all the time is, well, how do I do the aspirational type of content if I don't actually have case studies? And so that's actually a good solution.
Yep.
Because it's just so funny because like, and people are like, well, that's a whole lot of content, right? If I have to think actionable, analytical, anthropological, aspirational, well, Laurel, that is a whole bunch of content. And my shortcut to doing this is every time I launch an ad angle, like if you think of it as a workflow, if let's just say that I'm doing an ad and it is how to launch your first $5 ad to get people to walk into your chiropractor office, right? Here's how to do it. I would literally take that same angle. So let's say the how to solution in that video is use lead form ads. I'm just making stuff up, right? So let's say that that's what I'm teaching in that first video. I'm not recreating the entire wheel for the analytical, the aspirational, and the anthropological. Let's say I'm teaching chiropractors how to do a lead form ad in that video. I'm simply going to draw a line and it's like, what story can I tell about a client who used a lead form ad that was a chiropractor? That's my next piece of content, right? Then when that chiropractor used a lead form ad, what are the numbers? I'm going to pull the numbers out of that story. That becomes the analytical frame. And then the anthropological, what was the self-doubt that chiropractor had when using lead forms? What were all of the false beliefs that person had with getting results? Here's the why. And so I'm not recreating all of the different pieces of content. I'm just ensuring that every time I launch an ad, there's 4 different versions of it representing each of those lenses. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, it's basically it's basically drawing out a full story into 4 different iterations. So that makes total sense, and I think that's a great way to kind of multiply your content without having to recreate the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, I came from a television background, and basically it's the Pixar framework. Like, if you really think about it, right? Like how they do every single Pixar movie, there's all of these different frames that and all we're doing is we're picking out each of the different pieces from the main frame and then just making more stackable content out of the same topic.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way that I think of it, is because at the end of the day, CPMs are going up, right? There's no way that you can outrun that. Like, the CPMs are going up. Like, if you were running Facebook ads, that's just something that we have to deal with. And one of the ways that you can get your CPMs down is ensuring that you are putting out enough of these ad creatives. And if you're only putting out how-to content, or you're only putting out case studies and testimonials, you're only reaching 50%. And so if that 50% audience keeps seeing your same ads over and over again, Facebook is demoting you and actually and is actually not going to show your ads to anyone else. And so this framework is going to ensure that entire pocket of people actually see all of your ads.
Yep, 100%. It's so funny. It's not funny, but CPMs are definitely going up. You know, I used to have like a threshold of like, oh, I want to make sure my CPMs are under $100 or $80 or whatever. I was watching some training videos on some other people who are running ads, and they showed their CPMs for like high volume webinar ads. And they were spending, like, their CPMs were like $250. And like, yeah, it's like, it's converting. Like, they never even mentioned CPMs. It's like, you know, they were at a point where the webinar was converting. So like they were okay with it. Right. But I do want everyone to understand that, you know, you can't be gated by the cost of your ads. Like, your costs are going to be the costs, and you need to design your business model around your acquisition channel. So if ads are your acquisition channel, and you know that just from running ads, your CPMs are going to be ballpark in the XYZ range, like you will only get that data by running ads. But like, after a while, you're going to get a rough idea of like what your CPMs are going to be. And if your CPMs are too high and it's not affordable for you to be profitable running ads, well, you need to design your business model around your acquisition channel, meaning ads. If ads are your acquisition channel and costs are going to be what they are, like, you can't control those costs. Like, you have very little control, like very little leverage in what you can pull to get those costs down. At the end of the day, like, Facebook is going to charge you what they're going to charge you based on who else is marketing in your niche and to your target audience. You got to design your business model around that, period. And so, you know, CPMs are going up. It's going to be more competitive, and it's just something that you got to understand, you got to deal with. Now, using this framework is certainly going to help, because you do need to come up with all these different angles of how you can bring them into your marketplace and into your world. But you got to keep that in the back of your mind. Like, you got to design your business model around what the costs are based on the acquisition channel that you're going after. So, anyway, didn't mean to hijack that, but I wanted to support what you were saying with what I know is in the back of people's minds. Like, well, how do I get cheaper X, Y, and Z? And it's like, well, there's only so many levers that you can pull. This will help, but you also got to design it the right way.
Yeah, like, I mean, just this morning I had an SOS call with one of my students, and we had to do exactly just that, because her mid-ticket offer was no longer like funding her ad spend. And so I'm like, we have to get another offer in here. And she's like, well, what if I'm like, your ads are doing great. Your ads are doing exactly what they need to do. I was like, there's only so many, like what you were saying, there's only so many levers that you can actually pull to lower that cost. And, you know, we're about to go into the busy season where, you know, Black Friday ads are going to start coming pretty soon. And it's going to be never ending. Like, I've already seen, you know, election ads are already taking over, and a lot of people, you know, are experiencing high CPMs because of that. And one thing, Joel, too, that I think that we don't really talk about enough, and not just you and I, but just everyone in general who is in the internet marketing space, we really don't talk about environmental factors that affect ad ad performance, right? Like I just spent the last week kind of making sure that all of my students are not freaking out because June and this is something I've tracked for the last 8 years. Every June there is a dip in buyers, like and it's like it's one of those things too where my students try to outperform what their audience is actually doing. I'm like, at the end of the day, and this is something good for everyone to remember, is at the end of the day, guys, there's a real human being on the other side of that ad that you're placing, right? And I'll just use June as an example because June, just over the last 8 years, not only for me, but for a lot of my clients, has been one of the low months of the year. And it happens every single June, but it makes sense because if you think about the way, we were talking about anthropological, this is an anthropological angle, is that humans behave very differently in June. They just got handed their kids that have been in school all year, right? Even as a business owner, they're trying to figure out what am I going to do with my kids? We just had July 4th. Most people take that week off. And so a lot of times we don't account for environmental factors into our marketing plan, right? Gyms have a great quarter one, and then they're like, oh, my conversions just fell off and I'm like, well, yeah, environmentally, like everyone goes to the gym in January because new me, new you. And so one of the other things that I want to make sure that people are understanding is that we have to track trends within our own business. Like every single year, I know June, I'm either going to have to work a little bit harder and spend a little bit more, or I'm just going to pull back a little bit and just understand that June is going to be a slower month and then kick things back up or prepare for it. And I don't think a lot of people are tracking that type of data so that they know how to be prepared and just let your ads run right now. Like that's the thing is I told my students, I was like, just let them run. People are seeing them, but they're not just aimlessly scrolling every morning because now they're refereeing two little boys fighting in the living room right now, right?
Yeah, 100%. What would be a good example of an anthropological ad, right? So I get the chain framework of how we can create one story and break it up into 4 different types of ads. What are some of your favorite angles to use for those why ads?
Yep, absolutely. So I will give you an example. So I have this exercise where I have people in my programs break down every single part of their repeatable process, right? And so I have it broken down. So for instance, like the first milestone when I get a client is I need to make sure that they have an optimized book a call funnel, right? That is the process, right? That the book a call funnel is the process. Now there's different steps in order to get a book a call funnel, right? That's optimized. And if someone comes to me and they don't have at least 20% close rate, that's the first thing that I'm going to do. And I have a framework behind it, right? That's my ad right there. I'm going to draw that out. I'm going to try to get all of those people who may not have a 20% close rate. So my video might be, or my written ad, it doesn't matter whether you're doing a video ad or a written ad, it's the same. I might have a video that talks about how to close 20% more on sales calls. And I might talk about I have a framework that's called CASE. Collect the data, audit the data, strategize, and execute, right? How to close 20% more sales calls. Then I might do a video more about here's why 95% of coaches will never close a single sales call. And I will talk about how as humans, we feel guilty for asking for the sale. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same topic. And so all of my ads revolve around my repeatable, proven process. And so every time I'm writing an ad, I'm taking one of my steps in my entire framework. In my entire process, breaking it down into a framework, and I'm breaking it down those 4 ways for every single one of my ads.
And so what you were explaining there all leads to the underlying why they're still experiencing XYZ problem, correct? And so the goal with those ads is to get them to shift their way of thinking. Is that accurate?
100%. Because one of the things that I see with my I've got so much data from my $7 program, it's crazy. One of the things that I have learned about people in the coaching space is they have very limiting beliefs around sales calls. And so that's why I always do that type of piece of content that a lot of people tend to resonate with, because a lot of people have very negative thoughts around sales calls.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it all stems from not wanting to actually ask for the sale. And so that's where I pull all of my human behavior data, is basically just how the behavior that my students tell me on coaching calls.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would also go down a whole different branch of types of clients that people are attracting to. Like if someone is afraid to ask for a sale, well, they're probably early stage, right? Because any business owner, they should not be afraid of that.
They should be very, very comfortable asking for the sale.
Yeah. So I love that. I love breaking that down, because it's not just one winning ad or two winning ads. It's like we're dealing with people. And I also think this goes such hand in hand with this age of AI, of people being skeptical of everything. Like, before AI, people were skeptical of case studies. They were skeptical of all these fake gurus and whatnot, and the Lambos. And I think that's still there. But I think the skepticism is so much higher around, like, they just want to trust you, right? They want to trust you. They want to know that this is a real person, a real human, especially in the coaching space or the consulting space. It's like, they're buying you at the end of the day. They're buying you. And, there's different ways of how you can scale your ads through productivity hacks and whatnot, and using AI to generate images and whatnot. But at the end of the day, they do need to trust you. And there is so much truth behind, showing up live. How can you demonstrate that this isn't AI? As weird as that sounds, it's incredibly relevant. And this framework helps create that content and create those belief patterns that it's like, okay, cool. I can trust you because you have a repeatable process. I can trust you because you're demonstrating that you know what you're talking about. I can trust you because you're showing up and, you're doing things on video that probably can't be reproduced right now with AI. And so, yeah,
a scammer is not gonna consistently show up. I mean, correct. In very small, we're not gonna name names, but but it's very rare for a scammer to like present themselves online on a regular basis, like demonstrating expertise, right? Like it's very likely that they're probably going to be using a lot of AI, or they're going to be using a lot of, static image ads. And we kind of can't blame our leads too, because like, there are so many ads that I get targeted every time I watch, YouTube, about how you have all these avatars using your products and all of this stuff. And it's like, no wonder people think, that we're faking testimonials and stuff, because they're seeing the ads for the products that actually fake UGC, so we just have to give ourselves some grace, because like the marketing is just does what it is. And we just have to go with the flow. And it's just all part of being an entrepreneur,
100%. 100%. I love these conversations, Laurel, because they get my brain, my gears churning inside my brain, and how I can apply this stuff even for my own self. Because there's, with marketing, there's the gift and the curse. The pros and cons of marketing is you can take frameworks and you can apply them, but also it is such a creative exercise that there's no end to how much you can test, how much you can try, how much you can experiment with. And so frameworks are great, but also, apply that to what you're seeing in your own market, because, we can sit on here on Marketing Mondays and you can listen to a million gurus and you'll find a million different frameworks. And I'm sure a lot of them work. But at the end of the day, you're selling to people, and your people will give you different data than what, someone else's market will do. And so that has to go into account of what you're trying, what you're experimenting with, what you are implementing, because it's all psychological behavior. So test these things. Sorry, I thought somebody was coming into my office. All right. So test these things and figure out what is working with your market, and keep iterating. And so hopefully we can give you the starting blocks for how to make those first initial tests, and you can take them from there. So anything else, Laurel, you wanted to share with this 4A framework?
Yeah, no, I think we covered it. Like, one of the things though that I want to leave this with is Joel doesn't have a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball. Alex Hormozy doesn't have a crystal ball. Like, most of us are only successful because we fail so many times. And so you just can't be afraid to fail. Like, honestly, like, most of my ads fail. Like, I have launched over 200 ads. I mean, just this year, over 200 ads. And I probably only have 3 or 4 winners out of those 200 ads. Joel probably has more winners out of his ads, but it's like, I just refuse to freaking, like, I just keep trying things. And that's just the game. Like, you just have to keep trying. So give yourself some grace. Like, we're not, I'm probably not any better than a lot of people that are watching this video right now. I just fail more times.
Yeah. If you want to launch more proven winners, you will find a higher success rate of proven winners when you target bottom of funnel. This all goes to my power offer framework, right? You will find a higher success rate, a higher hit rate with bottom of funnel ads because those people are like ready to take action now. And so they're in that, like, let's take action now. As long as you have a clear, compelling offer, power offer framework is a really, really great example of that. And so I find myself, because I just default to that so often because it gives me those quick wins. I find myself just only launching bottom of funnel. And when I go higher, like middle of funnel, top of funnel, your success rate is going to be lower. However, those are the ones that usually, when you find those winners, they are usually able to spend more money and broaden your reach. And so I don't want to derail this conversation, but I kind of I play the lazy game. So I will launch a ton of bottom of funnel ads and I just kind of cycle through them, but it works. They print money.
I will say this. That's how I get all of my ideas. I remember I showed you the Loom video of how I broke down your one power offer into 40. And it's literally using this framework that you and I just talked about. And it's all like power. All of my ads are based around your power offer structure. So everyone, if you haven't bought Joel's power offer workshop, like, go buy it. I'll promote it. Like, it's actually,
promote it.
Yeah, I do. My students in my $7 program, they're not allowed to collect $200 when they hit go unless they buy Joel Erway's power offer.
Powerofferworkshop.com is where you can grab that. But Laurel, this was great. Appreciate it. Your 4A framework is excellent. All of your stuff is excellent. I enjoy these jams, and hopefully you guys are enjoying them as well. So we'll keep doing them. Drop some comments down below if you enjoyed this. Give Laurel some love, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.